Hey everyone, Mr. Testa here, and I am back with a brand new series. So I wanted to jump back into YouTube, make some fun videos about history and pop culture stuff. And I asked my son, hey, what should I do for our first culture one? And of course, being 4 years old, he's like, Pokemon. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. I love Pokemon. It's one of my favorite things. So let's go ahead and do some ranking of some Pokemon. So we are going to rank my favorite Pokemon by their type. So if you don't know, there are 18 types in Pokemon. You got electric and fire and ice and steel and ghost and fairy and dark and poison and all these other types. So we're going to rank them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank my favorite types in order, and then I'm going to tell you some of my favorite and least favorite Pokemon from that type. So to start us off with our first video, coming in at number 18, dead last, is the fairy type. I'm not a fan of this type. This type to me, I was upset when they created it. I was upset they turned a few of the older Pokemon into fairy types. And a lot of us wanted a light type. We had a dark type. We wanted a light type to kind of counter dragons. And then we come in and they're like, oh, we're going to add fairies. And I'm just like, oh, this is kind of dumb. So I'm not a fan of the fairy type. Now, it does have some cool Pokemon. There are some fun Pokemon in the fairy types, but I'm just not a fan of the type overall. I'm going to have to put it in my least. So the rules, I'll show you these each time just as a refresher. I'm going to show you 4 Pokemon. The first one is a pure type, so it's only one type, and it's the type we're looking at. The next 2 are dual types. The first one it's the main type and then a secondary, so in this case, fairy and then a secondary. The next one is a main type and then fairy. And then my last one is my least favorite Pokemon from that type. And my least favorite and my first favorite have to be pure, which means they can't have a secondary type. They can only have the one we're working with. So let's get started. So my favorite pure fairy type Pokemon would have to be Alcremie. Right. Now, Alcremie is a cool Pokemon all around. I didn't really like this Pokemon when it first came out. I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But then I got in Scarlet and Violet in the DLC. I beat the game in the DLC, and I'm like, okay, I got to do something else in this game. I want to have some fun. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to start collecting different types or different forms of Pokemon. So I started collecting Alcremie, and it was fun because you get to collect it based on the berries you get, and based on how fast you spin or how many times you spin while you're evolving its unevolved form. So I like those cool alternative ways of evolving Pokemon. So when it comes to that stuff, so it's not just straight leveling up. You got to do something fun to get them to evolve. And I even had my son help me rank these, which one he liked the best and all that stuff. So it was really fun just experiencing all the different forms this Pokemon had. Now, my favorite dual type Pokemon, where fairy is its primary, would have to be Tinkaton. Tinkaton is fairy steel, and it's a cool typing Pokemon all around. It's one of my more favorite ones from the new Scarlet and Violet games, and its Pokedex entry is just kind of creepy, but kind of cool at the same time. It literally says that it uses its hammer to hit rocks at Corviknights. And that's the reason why whenever you fly with the little parrot Pokemon. You don't fly with a Corviknight like you did in the Galar region. So it's kind of cool that they kind of, combine the two together and put it as part of the canon of the game. Now, my favorite dual type where fairy is its secondary would have to be my first regional variant, and we're not doing Megas, and we're not doing Gigantamax, I always butcher that, and we're not doing terrestrial types, but we will do region types. And my favorite secondary fairy has to be a Lowland Ninetales. So I've always loved Ninetales. It's always been a solid Pokemon. I used to use it in Pokemon for the Nintendo 64, Pokemon Coliseum and all that. And it's just been an all-around cool type. And then when I heard that it was getting an alternate typing, ice, and then fairy, I thought it was a pretty cool idea. Plus, my son, he likes Vulpix, and he actually prefers the Alolan Vulpix to the regular fire Vulpix. So I thought, Ninetales has to make this list. Now, my last one and my least favorite fairy type would have to be Swirlix. Now, I don't hate Swirlix. It's just I put it as my least favorite because it's kind of forgettable in my mind. It's not super oh my god, this Pokemon is great. It's not one that I'm going to remember all the time. And quite honestly, I even forgot it existed till I was doing research for this list. So there's not a fairy type where I just downright hated like I will in some of my other typing lists. But Swirlix, I just kind of thought, you know what? It's forgettable. It's not that cool. It's not that great of a Pokemon. Plus, I even had my son help me, and he's like, yeah, he picked this one too. So, Swirlix, sorry, but if you're a Swirlix fan, it just got put at the bottom. So, all right, well, I hope you liked the list. If there was some things you didn't like or did like, that's great, not great, whatever, you be you. But stay tuned for next time when we go to our number 17. And as always, yeah,